Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by number one news provider, Eswatini TV. I am Nondomiso Villagati alongside Nomacabiso Nkambule, and here are your top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III has blessed the Ascension Day services to be on the 26th of May at Mbangweni Royal Residence. The Minister for Economic Planning and Development, Dr. Tambo Kena, says the Kingdom of Eswatini has been adversely affected by the problem of unintended pregnancy. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly has recommended that the chairperson of the Liquor Licensing Board be a business person in the liquor trade. The news. His Majesty King Mswati III has received letters of credence from the Republic of Turkey and the Republic of Rwanda at Lozita Palace. Speaking when receiving their credentials, His Majesty hoped for the development of the bilateral relations between the kingdom and the two states.
The Republic of Rwanda and the Kingdom of Eswatini have strong relations, and there is also mutual understanding existing between the states. Eswatini and Rwanda share the same vision of cooperation in the spirit to advance economic development, commercial exchange, and to achieve better continent by enhancing a strong South-to-South cooperation. The newly appointed High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda to the Kingdom of Eswatini, His Excellency Claude Ngobizanzwe, presented his letters of credence to His Majesty the King and Ingwenyama of Emaswati at Lozita Palace. Presenting his letters of credence, His Excellency Claude Ngobizanzwe promised to stay committed in improving the relations between the two states.
Rwanda and Eswatini collaborate on multilateral level by consulting one another, including supporting candidates. Rwanda appreciated Eswatini's support without condition to two candidates, a judge to the International Court of Justice and to the African Union Deputy Chairperson.
The Republic of Rwanda will be hosting the 2022 Commonwealth Summit next month to be attended by member states. Speaking during the presentation of the credentials, His Majesty King Mswati III says, as members of many organizations, the two countries should find a way to cooperate and support each other in terms of development of both states.
I can assure you that as Africans, we committed that we will not give up the fight to improve the conditions of our people in infrastructure, social welfare, and political and so on. We will continue to work towards ensuring that our countries have a better living standards. We want to achieve the standards of a first world country here. This is one of our dreams that we would like to achieve. And I'm sure that during the discussions in the Commonwealth, it's one of the issues to look at how countries can really develop. And it's so encouraging to know that within the Commonwealth, there are a number of countries which already have reached the level of the first world status score. So we look forward to be able to share a lot of information with those countries.
The Republic of Rwanda will be hosting the 2022 Commonwealth Summit next month to be attended by member states. The Republic of Turkey is located mainly in Western Asia, and the country has strong bilateral relations with the Kingdom of Eswatini. The relations between the two countries dates back to the early 80s. The newly appointed ambassador to the Kingdom of Eswatini presented her letter of credence to His Majesty King Mswati III at Lozita Palace. Presenting the letters of credence, Her Excellency Ayesgal Kanders expressed hope that in carrying out her duties, she may receive support from the kingdom.
Turkey's policy of opening up to Africa is not just the reflection of transient political and economic expectations. On the contrary, As an Afro-Asian state, it is the product of a process enriched with strong historical and cultural dimensions. Turkey-Africa relations have gained a substantial momentum since the declaration of Turkey as a strategic partner of the continent by the African Union in January 2008.
Addressing the gathering, His Majesty King Mswati III applauded the Republic of Turkey for the contribution the country has made towards the development of Africa. His Majesty says this will really go a long way as most countries in Africa, including Eswatini, are still developing. His Majesty also pointed out that the Kingdom of Eswatini is looking forward to the establishment of the Embassy of Turkey in the country, and the Kingdom will also work towards the construction of its own embassy office in Turkey.
We know how much Turkey has been making a lot of contributions towards the livelihood of Eswatini, not only of Eswatini, but also the whole of Africa. The commitment which has been made by the President, the government, and the people of Turkey for sharing their experience and ideas in terms of supporting developing countries, as many African countries are still in the process of developing. We are glad that we have a strong partner from Turkey, which has time to time has provided a number of expertise and ideas, and you've contributed a lot.
Within the framework of Turkey scholarships, Turkey allocates scholarships for Eswatini undergraduate students since 2007. The two states are also intensifying trade relations and also encouraging tourism between both countries. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia at Lozita Palace.
His Majesty King Mswati III has blessed the Ascension Day services to be on the 26th of May at Mbangweni Royal Residence. This was revealed by the President of the League of Churches, Bishop Samson Hlachwago, when making the announcement at Eswatini Royal Residence.
Nasi simemethelo esibalulekile bekunene lesiphuma la sigodlweni elithi kwatiswe emakhola wonke la kangwane nangaphandle kwaleli nesive sonke kuthi seyinkonzo ye-Ascension Day, inkonzo yelenyuko, inkonzo wemakhosi abusisa bekunene kuthi Jesu ufala kalobamba avukela kalobamba bese wenyuka eshiselwe nembangweni esigodlweni. Le nkonzo imhlathi nge-26 kuMeyi noma inkwekwethe nga-10 bekunene nibese niphelele esigodlweni nihleli phasi simele kufika kwemakhosi noma loyo lobathunywe emakhosi. Siyacela ke nihloniphe bazalwane ningayaluki nase kufika emakhosi noma lomele emakhosi nibe nihleli phasi. Sicela ke bafundisi bona baphelele nga-10 mhla ka-25 kuye Meyi batokuchuba umhlangano wokulungisela lenkonzo. Inkonzo ke bekunene ichubeka njengemihla kunemvuselo lensambama mhla ka-25 kuyasa ngelesine mhla ka-26 sesichuba lenkonzo. Ngiloko bekunene lo khipha simemetelo Bishop Samson Hlachwago egameni lebukhosi bayethe wena waphakathi wena ungangezindaba zakumabhuku uyimbubi yesabe kuhle emathole esinyathi.
The Minister of Economic Planning and Development, Dr. Tambo Gina, says the Kingdom of Eswatini has been adversely affected by the problem of unintended pregnancy, which had a negative impact on school-going children as most of them are unable to complete their education even after delivery. The minister said this during the launch of the 2022 State of the World report.
The theme for this year 2022 State of the World report is Seeing the Unseen, the case for action in the neglected crisis of unintended pregnancy. The Minister of Economic Planning and Development, Dr. Tambo Gina, says the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in a lot of unintended pregnancies, not only in the country but worldwide.
The education policy of 2018 seeks to allow the continuity of education of young girls even after falling pregnant, but the policy is yet to be fully implemented and evaluated on its impact. It is part of the country's commitments which were presented during the Nairobi summit in Nairobi in 2019. The theme of this year's State of the World Population calls for action on what it calls neglected crisis of unintended pregnancy. This really means it should be business unusual for our government. The business community, non-governmental organizations, and religious organizations who need to combine efforts in order that this problem could be solved.
United Nations Population Fund maternal specialist Tamara Slinza says the World Population Report shows that nearly 1 in 4 women are unable to say no to sex and nearly 10% are unable to make decisions about contraception.
The Eswatini Demographic Health Survey shows that 51% of women lack the power to make decisions in all 3 areas, with 26% unable to say no to sex, 11% unable to decide whether to take on contraception, and 28% unable to decide on their health care. It is therefore no surprise that nearly half of the world's pregnancies are unintended. In Eswatini, unintended pregnancies occur in alarming numbers. According to the 2006-7 Demographic and Health Survey, 64% of births were unintended, and of these, 37% were not wanted at all, whilst 27% were mistimed. For the women affected, the most life-altering reproductive choice is whether or not to become pregnant. It's no choice at all.
Unpacking the context of the 2022 State of the World report is Rachel Masuku from UNFPA. She says worldwide there are 121 million unintended pregnancies. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, with Sanziso Mlambo and Vuminkosi Nzinisa Matsapa.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly has recommended that the chairperson of the Liquor Licensing Board be a business person in the liquor trade. For now, the liquor bill states that the chairperson will be a lawyer from the Attorney General's office. These submissions were made during a meeting held at Sibane Sami Hotel on Thursday.
The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly was in a meeting with the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, where the committee made its submissions on the Liquor Licenses Bill of 2021. The committee asked about the composition of the board and its duties.
Here ukhuluma ngebusiness lecashe abantu le involved. You can't just say we have the power not to renew. Maybe somewhere, subject to whatever. Grant a license, you can play around with it, but not to renew. So on a teaching let renewal to start with. So on a business ingulu, consequences la makulu. Ainga mane nje sikubeke lula sebangasuka nje banga renew.
Ufuna kuva lokuthi kukhona indlakona khona. Nasithi lo loyophenya noma loyosesha akaseshe in the presence of the police ngekufunza na section 3 subsection 3 lothi lamaphoyisa ayobalekelela laba nabenda lo msebenzi wabo ikakhulu ngoba lo A uthi any business premises with or without a search warrant in which that person so authorized has reasonable grounds to believe that the business is being conducted and inspect such premises. Akusho kuleleni ba license kuphela lapha. As long as sola lokho ukuthi kukhona le business le ndiwako lapha kumnike magunya ukuthi angangena ahlole.
The Liquor Licenses Bill stipulates that the Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs will be part of the Liquor Licensing Board. Members of the committee inquired what the ministry will be doing in the board. The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Kumalo, responded to this.
So it's a legacy issue, but from experience, good lapho mhlambe singathi tawukhinya beta le process khona ukuthi babe khona noma babe ngekho. So it's not a critical issue.
Shothi nje le board lena tothiwa ngiyo le tawubukela kukhishwa kwema license nekuthi amendwe nokuthi nabe ufuna kuniketa lomunye umuntu ikhona ukukunikeza, nabe ufuna ukuthi kuhoqiswe ihoqiswe, nabe futhi nabe sowuphule lo mthetho iwukhansele. Ngiye futhi le bhodi etaba nemandla ukuthi utembi kwayo uvele ubeke incabekelano takho ukuthi awusho ngani wena ukuthi ingakhanseli license yakho nangabe kunembuyiko nje longahambisani nale nqubo yalo mthetho.
At the time of compiling this report, the meeting was still in progress. For Eswatini TV News, Temgos Mavimbela with Mbongwa Dube, Ezulwini.
The Public Accounts Committee is worried over what happens to bail fees paid by suspects, especially after the alleged suspect has died. PAC members expressed their concerns when judiciary appeared before it.
The Public Accounts Committee urges judiciary to conduct civic education on claiming bail fees after suspects have died, acquitted or sentenced. PAC feels these monies end up being utilized wrongfully as they normally lie at the Treasury Department.
Bangakhi labalabake beda. Bathi ngani labantu out there kokuthi once wafa sihlobo sami libe kade sikufaka imali yabo ku bail. Sesihambile ke emhlabeni nibota ke nine into yokuklema le mali yakhe lebakabheli.
Mama emthethweni kuthini emntwini loshonile kansi bekabhadele bail anelicala uthini lo mthetho
ingabe vele emaswati ngoba siyabathi nalokuthi abafuni nekuphenywa ngalethi ndzaba tathi imali tabo dethi imali tebantu ehlala phakibo nawuthi ufuna ukubaphenya basukuma bonke ngoba kunethi imali tebantu lehlala la abangakhona ukuthi accountele bonke abantu bafaka imali tabo la bafe tisale leti mali.
High Court Registrar says suspects or their relatives are encouraged to file bail claims.
It is not automatic or guaranteed. Kuthi if ngibekwe licala lekubulala for instance, ngithole i-bail. If I die the following week, akusho ukuthi le mali seyiya estate yami automatically. Because I could have been guilty. Leli cala belingakatekwa and inkantolo bengakangpronounce innocent. Mase bayiclaima le bail chairperson. Bathatha le original receipt kufakwa nalesijubo senkantolo be it kuthi inkantolo sithi innocent noma nje le bail yakho icancel kuthi so yestocksin therefore ngoba so sestocksin awuyibhadala ibail so ngayithola imali yakho back bayakuclaimela tihlobo takho.
The report of the Auditor General on the consolidated government accounts of the Kingdom of Eswatini for the financial year ended March 31st, 2021 indicates that there is 64 million Malangan unclaimed sundry in judiciary. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Sanziso Mlambo and Muzi Mkhonta, Parliament.
The Ministry of Education and Training has met tertiary institutions producing teachers to establish whether there is still a need for more teachers in the kingdom. Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Training, Bheki Gama, says the ministry went into the meeting with an assumption that there was an overproduction of teachers, as some who graduated in 2010 are still unemployed. The meeting was aimed at finding a way forward.
This meeting brought together colleges and universities from the public and private sectors which produce teachers. The purpose was to look into whether there is still a need for more teachers, as a number of them have been unemployed since 2010. Ministry of Education and Training Principal Secretary Bheki Gama explains more.
Now the network sasitibukeni lesibesibuka ukuthi sibakhiphela ngibale semproducer labo tishela ngoba mabaqedza lapha sibabuya la bakhalele uhulumende sakabaqashi lokho ukufind out nje kulama college ukuthi okay nini sinabafundisela sibawusebenza ku kodwa ke lokube interesting lokuthi kube nebufakazi laba bulethile ndawo bese base university baspeksela ngesikole lesithile uthi khona loyile ayi supervisor I teaching practice leso school leli class belina 90 students lase primary wathi lwase university manje nanithi bothishela abanenge niyabona 90 students in 3 of my class bayashoda botishela yebo ngoba nalomunye lobekise waseworkers college nabo isikole esinika amanzini primary nakhona yena wangena ke wakhaza sibambana bank 79 in one classroom la grade 3 uthi ke naye wangena naye wamekoneni basikena nase the student anze kufuna sisayinele ngehead teacher the sayinele ngitishela weclass wakhaza sikude tishela walo class so basibona nisho kusini ukuthi kunakuthi ngoba mina sikhuma ngabo le ndeke lonyaka bekude tishela lapha kuzokufuneka lo student teacher sifundzise 79 bambana.
Gama says they have noted that a number of unemployed people in the country are teachers. He says this meeting was also meant to find a way of helping them as unemployment is frustrating most of them. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela with Nomfundo Makakula and Mbonga Dube. Mbabane.
The Examinations Council of Eswatini has extended the deadline for payment of examination fees for all externally examined levels by 2 weeks. This has been said by the Communications Officer Hlengiwe Ndlovu in a press statement.
The deadline for the payment of examination fees for this year has been shifted to the 3rd of next month. The Examinations Council of Eswatini says this applies to all externally examined levels, which are Standard 5, Form 3, Form 5, as well as the Eswatini Pre-Vocational Certificate of Secondary Education. Parents have welcomed this move by the council, saying it is very considerate since they have been struggling with payment of fees for the third term recently. Some said the COVID-19 pandemic has dried up their sources of income, hence this decision reduces the financial burden and gives them enough time to get finances.
Siyabonga kusicabangela ngoba sifanani labanye abatali vele bayaza abalaza just to get nje even food. Later on ngevele school fees sidule kakhulu. Mase kuthiwa kune school fees ne exam fee uyabo isethe double load.
Sekutasiniketa sikhathi lesanele sekuthi siqhubeke sizame imali yekubhadalela abantwana ukuthi bakhona kubhadalela lihlolo.
The council has also given the schedule for the fees. For junior certificate, the entry fee is 88 emalangeni per candidate and the subject fee is 116 emalangeni per subject. For EGCSE and EPCSE and IGCSE, the entry fee is 186 emalangeni per candidate. On the other hand, the council says for EGCSE and EPCSE, the subject fee is 396 emalangeni per subject. The subject fee for IGCSE is 1,121 emalangeni per subject. The council says the deadline for registration of full-time candidates has not changed as it is still on May 20 this year. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ndangamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Mbabane.
Dear viewers, now take a look at our financial updates, which are going to be followed by our commercial break.
Standard Bank. It can be.
It's Spar Rewards winner car time, and you could be turning your shopping into a limited edition Hyundai Grandite 10. Plus, get incredible specials like Spar cornflakes for only $19.99 and Baker's Murray biscuits. Buy any two for just 24 emalangeni. Remember, every participating product you buy gets you another entry to win with Spar Rewards. So sign up today. Spar Rewards winner car, now on.
Welcome back. You're still watching Eswatini TV, and for your sports news tonight, MTN Premier League log leaders are 2 wins away from defending the title after beating Tabangulu Killers in a game played at Mavuso Sports Center in Manzini. The 3 remaining fixtures for the police side are teams fighting for the league in Mbabane Highlanders, Mbabane Swallows and Young Buffaloes. All 3 collected maximum points this afternoon.
MTN Premier League defending champions Royal Leopard are 2 wins away from defending their title after defeating Tabangulu Kedis at the Mavuso Sports Center. First half finished by Wandile Simelane in a classic goal by Junior Magagura in the second half ensure that the blue and white ensemble are left with 6 points to once again be champions of the land. They are now 65 points in 28 games, while second in place Babana Highlanders, who defeated Vovovo 3-0, are 63 points. Babane Swallows, who edged Monini Pirates by 4-1, are now 61 points. Fourth in place Young Buffaloes are 60 points, having also sinked Malandi Chiefs by 5-0. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mavso Sports Center, Mansini.
That is all we had for tonight, but before we wrap up, we'll take a recap of today's headlines. His Majesty King Mswati III has blessed the Ascension Day services to be on the 26th of May at Mbangweni Royal Residence. The Minister for Economic Planning and Development, Dr. Tambo Kena, says the Kingdom of Eswatini has been adversely affected by the problem of unintended pregnancy. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly has recommended that the chairperson of the Liquor Licensing Board be a business person in the liquor trade. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin tonight. Up next is the weather forecast for selected towns. Good night, Eswatini.